Next up, we have from the Maragoli Hills of Kenya, a student at the Earlham School of Religion, a Kenyan Quaker and a Kenyan shaman. I give you Stanley Chagala Ngesa.
In my tribal tradition, I must do two things. One, I have to greet you all, and you must greet me back. Good evening, friends. Good evening. Thank you. The second thing, I have to thank you for showing up here tonight to hear us speak. I have to thank the ESR, I have to thank Ben, I have to thank Kaya, and I have to thank Christine for putting this up together. Please give them a hand clap. Thank you. Once upon a time, I had a dream. I had a dream that one day I will travel to the West to do my ministry. And this dream was just about to be realized when disaster struck. It was several days later that I came back to life. And when I came back to life, I saw many people around me. And I slowly but surely asked the nurse who was holding my hand, what am I doing here? And the nurse told me that I was in a coma, and she's so happy that I have come back. The first thing I did was to say a prayer. I said a prayer to the life-giving God, because I could see that the only way I could have come back can only be equated to the one who died and came back to life. His name is Jesus Christ. I was so sure of that. And then everyone was shouting and crying in happiness to see that I had come back to life. I want to tell you a little more about my dream. You see this stick here? This is a talking stick. In my village, we always sit around a bonfire, and everyone around that bonfire tells a story. And the most important part of our storytelling around that bonfire is sharing our dreams. I shared the dream that I had had. And then my village people told me something. Because we are all Quakers, and in keeping with Quaker tradition, we went to the church and asked for a clearness committee. If you don't know a clearness committee, just come and see me later. I'll explain to you what it means. And so during that clearness committee, it was affirmed that my dream, they helped me to affirm and to design my dream to go and study for my ministry. The question then was, how could I do it? Because remember, in the village, we are very spiritually rich people. But what we don't have is money. We are financially poor. So I had to start doing something. I had to go for what I had in my hands. And I had 4 oxen. One of them I named America. The second one I named Canada. The third one I named UK. And the fourth one I named Australia. See, for us, all the animals we keep are not just pets. They have to be doing something for us. If it's a chicken, we'll have to slaughter the chicken for food. If it's a cow, like an oxen, we use it to plow our land. And so these cows of mine, I was not going to have them go to anybody, sell them to somebody who is going to use them to plow the land, because I was afraid that person probably would not look after them as well as I did. So I made this decision that I was going to sell them to a butcher who would slaughter them. So I had to talk to them. When we have to slaughter an animal, we talk to them. We say to this animal, as I told my oxen, you are going to give your lives for my ministry. I want you to know that I respect you a lot. And they were all tuned in, listening to me carefully. Of course, they were not saying anything, but I knew they heard what I was saying. I said, you will be remembered in history for having helped me go pursue my ministry. And from that time, I took them to the butcher, and the butcher gave me all the money that I needed to go and buy a ticket. Just a little more detail here before I continue. My great-grandmother, Dorika Bweyenda, had predicted, had prophesied when I was 10 years old. I remember her telling me this. I remember it as if she just told me an hour ago, that you will go to the country where these friends who brought Quakerism to Kenya came from. And you'll do 2 things. One, you'll tell them about our culture. And 2, you learn about this whole story of Quakerism and bring it back. So this was really the time for me to explore and to live this prophecy. So I get onto the bus, armed with this ticket that I had bought in Kisumu, and I get to Nairobi. And I continue straight to the airport. As I approach the airport, I see the aeroplane that I was going to fly in, South Africa Airlines, parked there. And I felt my heart leap with joy as I could see this plane taking me to Cloud 9. I get to the line, And as you know, you have to go through this ticket person as you bring your luggage to get to check in. I was the 5th person. And then this man who was the ticketing officer asks me for my passport, I give him, asks me for my documents, I give him the ticket. And then he says, where is your luggage? I need to know whether it's within the required weight. And all I had were those documents. And so he says to me, no, we can't allow anybody on the plane without luggage. So get off the line, stand aside. And you could have seen me begin to lose breath as I stared this man through his eyes. It was eyeball to eyeball. And I was beginning to sweat. And I said to him, you are kidding me. He said, you've got to get out of it. You got to get out of the line. We will have to sort you out later. He finished with 2 more, 3 people, and then he called the police. The police took me inside this room and said, why don't you have luggage? You can't be going on an international flight without luggage. And I said, you know, the only bag that I had was stolen when I came a few months ago to the American embassy to get my visa. As soon as I arrived in the city, after presenting all my documents to the American embassy, I was walking towards my place of abode, and thugs waylaid me in the park, and they hit me with a metal on my right-hand side of the head, and I went down, and it was only by the grace of God that a good Samaritan came, picked me up, took me to this hospital where for several days I was in a coma. So when I remembered this man here telling me you don't have luggage, all that came to my mind is, you mean you were the thug who hit me? Now you are coming to follow me up here at the airport when I'm supposed to be getting onto the plane? Thank God. Thank Jesus Christ. The security man called the seminary, and the seminary said, yes, he is a genuine passenger. Give him his ticket and let him get on the flight. And that's how I am here. I can see Kaya giving me a 1-minute sign. So this is what I'm going to say. I am standing here to encourage you, friends, that your dreams are valid, and that dreams do come alive, and that dreams do happen. When you dream, your dreams will one day, they may take 50 years like mine, but one day your dreams will become true. And I embody the truth of a dream. I also embody the the prophecy of my great-grandmother. This prophecy was also confirmed by my grandmother and my mother and all my ancestors. I also embody the spirit of all who are here and all who are in Kenya. You will get your dream. Your dream will come true. But there is one thing you have to do. You have to show up. You have to show up every time, like you did today. Because if you show up, you will discover that only those who show up make history. Thank you for showing up, friends.